It's a clash of titans at the U.S. Championship. Fabiano Caruana with the white pieces takes on the legendary Gata Kamsky in a razor-sharp Sicilian showdown. Caruana opens with pawn to e4, and Kamsky meets it with the Sicilian defense. We see the classic open Sicilian as white breaks in the center and develops the knights. And it's the Sveshnikov variation. Black pushes the e-pawn forward, creating a complex, unbalanced game. White's knight hops to the b5 outpost, and the battle lines are drawn. And here Kamsky unleashes a fantastic pawn sacrifice, pawn to b5. This is a deep idea. Looking to blast open lines on the queen side and challenge White's central grip, Caruana accepts the challenge, taking the knight on f6. After Black recaptures, White's knight lands on d5. Black's pawn structure is weakened, but he has the powerful bishop pair as compensation. Wow, another brilliant move from Kamsky, knight to e7. The point is to trade knights and bring his queen to this active square, bolstering his control of the center. The knight trade happens, and Kamsky's queen arrives on e-vin. Both players now jockey for position, with Black pushing the f-pawn to gain space and challenge White's central setup. Caruana probes with his queen to h5, forcing a response. He then swings his knight over to b4, putting immediate pressure on Black's queenside. Kamsky is under pressure and makes his first slip. He develops his bishop, but this overlooks a nasty tactical shot. A much better try was to challenge White's active queen, queen to g5. White would have to trade queens, and after pawn recaptures on g5, White can press with pawn to a4. After the trade, White is winning a pawn. But in the actual game, Kamsky plays bishop to en6, and this allows Caruana to pounce. And Caruana does just that, snapping up the pawn on a6. He's now a clean pawn up. Kamsky castles and tries to generate counterplay, but White is firmly in control. Black captures the pawn on e4, but this is another inaccuracy. It opens the position in White's favor when pushing his own d-pawn forward was a much better way to fight. And Caruana finds the perfect response, the only move that keeps his huge advantage. Bishop takes on e4. The point is devastating. If Black's rook moves to d8, the knight jumps to c6, forking queen and bishop. The queen has to move to e8, and after queen takes queen, White wins the queen. Black sidesteps that immediate disaster, bringing his rook to c8. Caruana develops his own rook to d1, adding more pressure to the center. And now, a serious error from Kamsky. He swings his rook out to c4, but this decentralizes the piece and misses the danger. A more resilient defense was needed. Queen to f7. Then, after queen to f3, rook to d8 protects the back rank, bishop to d5 holds things together, and the king steps to h8. But in the game, rook to c4 is played, and Caruana gets a golden opportunity. Absolutely brilliant. Queen to g6. A stunning move that looks like it hangs the bishop on e4, but it's all part of a deep combination to win decisive material. Kamsky has no choice. He must take the bishop on e4. And Caruana strikes. Queen recaptures the rook on e4, the only move, and it's completely crushing. The queen is a monster, and here's why. After bishop to f5, the queen delivers a check from d5. The king is forced to h8, and then the queen simply gobbles up the pawn on d6, winning a rook. From here, Caruana begins the long process of conversion. He's completely winning, and Kamsky puts up a fight, but White's position is just too strong as he prepares the final assault. White's queen continues to be a menace, swinging over to b4. Kamsky defends, but Caruana simply snaps off the b-pawn, and the pressure mounts. A slight inaccuracy from Caruana. Knight to e3 allows Black a brief window to create some counterplay by challenging White's all-powerful queen, but Kamsky misses the opportunity. He plays the bishop to h3, which doesn't address the main problem. He had one last chance to fight back. The best move was bishop to d7. After queen to d3, Black's queen could swing to h6. Then, after pawn to b4, the queen comes to e6, and Black is still in the game. Instead, after the move played, bishop to h3, Caruana's overwhelming advantage is fully restored. And now Caruana plays with ruthless precision. He repositions his queen and begins to push his passed pawn, which is now marching down the board as a game-winning threat. And this is the final, decisive mistake. Pushing the pawn to e4 looks active, but it fatally weakens Black's position. The king needed to find safety first. King to g8 was essential. After rook to g1, bishop to e7 defends. Then queen to b4 and bishop to g5 would hold on. But in the game, pawn to e4 is a blunder, and it loses on the spot. Caruana plays queen to d8, which is still completely winning, but he actually misses the most clinical knockout blow. There was an even more precise path to victory. The killer move was rook to d4. After pawn to d5, knight takes the pawn, then bishop to c5, and knight to f4 simply wins more material. Still, in the game, queen to d8 poses enormous problems for black. Kamsky's king is forced to step away to h7. White pushes the pawn to a6. It's a strong move, but another slight inaccuracy that lets black create a few last-ditch threats on the king side. Black develops the bishop to h6, creating some nuisance value. Caruana calmly repositions his queen and pushes his g-pawn forward, shutting down any counterplay, and Kamsky falls into the final trap. He captures the pawn on g4, but this walks right into a beautiful winning combination. His last chance was to create a diversion. The only try was pawn to d5. White's a-pawn would advance to a7, then rook to f8 defends. After rook to g1, rook to a8, and the fight continues. But after the capture, bishop takes on g4, Caruana has a brilliant finish. Spectacular, rook to g1. An incredible move that appears to hang the knight, but it's a decoy sacrifice to set up a decisive attack. The bait is taken. Black's bishop captures the knight on e3. And that's the point. Queen recaptures the bishop on e3, and it's all over. White has a decisive material advantage and an overwhelming attack. Kamsky's position has collapsed. And at this moment, Gata Kamsky resigned. Caruana wins a fantastic game. Black is down a piece with no counterplay, and the threats are just too much to handle. Here's why he resigned. Queen to f5, pawn to a7, bishop to h3, rook to g5, queen takes rook on g5.